A little factor that most people are overlooking, maybe except for some experts, is the link between oil prices and natural gas prices and water. Water, especially in the CONUS United States, continental United States. Now, the reason being is because of the new extraction methods that are out there. A lot of it is fracturing the soil, and also the shale oil, which is fracking again using large quantities of water. And what's going on right now is we got a major drought going. There's not enough water to even supply food, so the water's becoming a hell of a lot more expensive and scarce for oil. So that, and also natural gas. So what happens is we're going to see some major price increases even without an event in the Middle East. This is one factor a lot of people aren't looking at. Now, I noticed today that oil went up a little bit. I don't know if it has anything to do with the water drought. Today is August 1st, 2012. Metals prices are down. I imagine that's probably because of the PMI data coming in. Doesn't look that good. We saw preliminary data yesterday, and I'm sure more data came in today where everything is looking down, but I think that's just temporary, very temporary. But as far as oil is probably not a bad bet. I know some are saying it's going to go down to 70 something again when the S&P crashes or whatever, which I think the S&P is going to crash pretty soon, but I don't think. I think there's other factors going on that's going to hold prices of oil up because more tensions in the Middle East, but the oil that's being used now is coming a lot from the United States. We still get about half our oil domestically, and that supply was coming on a hell of a lot stronger, but there's a hell of a lot bigger drought going on that's actually moving up into Canada. The other thing is with Canada, it has a large amount of oil reserves, but even looking at very rosy pictures for water availability, they would have to take practically all the water that's available to process the oil. I mean, like in areas like Toronto and everything, it would just deplete the water table. That's how much the oil companies would have to use. So it's one thing having reserves. It's another thing being able to process everything and whatever which you have on hand. So this commodity is going to come in a very short supply. That's what I think. I think it for other reasons, but in the short term, it should come into short supply due to water. Water being for the next 2 or 3 months, we're probably going to continue with a drought. This is actually a map of coming from an official government data center, National Climatic Data Center, and all the dark red is the most severe drought, but all this is in drought. This is actually as of, maybe a month or so ago, but it's going to continue, and it's going to continue to get worse. Now, there's a few bright spots in the country. I'm actually in Florida, so I know there's been a hell of a lot of rain over here, and actually it's stating it's above normal. The far northwest in Oregon and Washington and everything, far above normal in Maine. But the whole center of the country, where all the oil production's going on, way down. But it's also affecting, of course, food production. But what's going to happen when there's a scarce natural resource like water is going to go to food or oil, right? What's going to happen? The reason they're getting all this natural gas and oil is because you're using hell of a lot of water to fracture the soil to get at this stuff. So I'm going to bring out a few facts. A large part of the oil and natural gas boom is from hydraulic fracturing, using lots of water. I mean, a hell of a lot of water. And like I mentioned before, up in the tar sands in Canada even, and also the shale oil besides, they use a lot of water. There might be a lot of oil, but to process that oil, I don't know if there's enough water to do it. That's one of the contentions a lot of people overlooked that. Water that was being used used to be 35 cents a barrel. Now they're not even going to sell it for 75 cents a barrel. They don't want to sell it. They don't want to give it up to the oil companies for that, even over twice. Governments have stopped issuing permits to oil companies to draw water from rivers, so they got to go to some other source. So if you can't process the or get fracture the shale oil to get the oil out of it using water, you can't get the water, you just can't get the oil. Corn-based ethanol prices have jumped roughly 30% since June 2012. You're talking only a couple months. So you remember, even though like some places use E85, 85% ethanol, now those prices are probably going to jump a hell of a lot because it's an agricultural product. But all gasoline uses at least 10 to 15% ethanol, pretty much everywhere. So that's going to cause the price of gasoline to jump, and that's just related to food, related to water, and that's related strictly because that's a agricultural product that's producing gasoline. Natural gas prices have surged some 70% in the last 2 months, and that is because of the fracturing, and it's due to the availability of water. So it's an interesting point that a lot of people aren't picking up on. Oil prices are probably going to surge, not just due to an event in the Middle East. It's going to cause a slowdown in the United States. And you notice, like on this map, North and South Dakota and Montana. This is all in this area right here is where all the Bakken oil reserve is. I know it's more up a little further north, but still it's showing that there's a drought in that situation. And this is not the most latest. The drought situation is expected to continue. And down in Texas, Oklahoma, and of course even Utah. Utah is another big state. They got like Carbon County out there, which is oil producing and stuff. So severe drought, and this situation is not going to just stop right away. But even without using the water for actual production of oil and getting at the oil through fracturing, you have a good portion of the gasoline comes from corn, and corn prices have flat out doubled inside of no time. And they're going to continue to go up. So this situation is an interesting twist. And energy prices have everything to do with the overall cost of goods because everything is transported, everything across the board. Most products are even made out of crude oil products. So if crude oil goes up a lot due to unforeseen circumstances, and the drought is one. A lot of people are looking at the Middle East. I'm looking at the Middle East. But, in normal times, if there's a slowdown in the economy, the crude oil prices should go down. The one thing that was holding up crude oil prices back earlier in the year 2012 was due to the Middle East situation. Are they going to close the Straits of Hormuz or not? But then a whole other twist came in. The whole other twist is there's a drought, and that does greatly affect oil production because of the way oil is being produced in the United States. I mean, if it was just coming out of the Gulf or something like that in the Gulf of Mexico with a deep water drill, of course the drought wouldn't affect that oil production, but it greatly affects the type of oil production that's going on in the United States with getting shale oil and the way they're getting natural gas. So, and with the competition of this scarce water resource for food, I think the oil companies are going to lose out. So maybe we're not going to be able to bring on as much domestic oil as they think. And I don't know if this is something, we talked about Lindsey Williams before, and he says that the elite plan to bring out all the domestic oil production very high before they cut off the Middle East. That little scenario seemed to make a lot of sense to me. But I don't know, I guess this weather scenario is something maybe they haven't been counting on. It's an interesting situation, but I think oil has, got a couple good reasons for going up. It's not just the Middle East. The Middle East is one, but the drought is number two. So it's probably a pretty decent bet, even though there could be a little bit of pullback in the short term. But by the end of the year, well before the end of the year, between these two major factors, it's possible oil could be way the hell up there.